slash TV panel. I'm Amy Lopez, and I'm a student intern here with the UC Career Center. Before we begin, I want to let everyone know that this event is being recorded. This event is designed to give students the opportunity to explore different career options and gain some industry insights from our amazing panelists. We want this panel to be as interactive as possible, so we will open up the panel for audience questions later in the session. When we do, please indicate that you have a question by using the raise hand function or ask it in the chat. If you do have a question, please be prepared to unmute your microphone when prompted so that you can ask your questions. With that said, I would now like to open up for our panelists to introduce themselves. Alan, if you could start us off, can you briefly share your name, pronouns, current company if you're involved with one, and what is your current role?
Hi. Let me know if you can hear me. Okay. All right. All right. So right now I am a professor at Southwestern College, and I teach introduction to screenwriting and podcasting. And yeah, and I started teaching for the past year now, in my second semester, well, second and a half in a way, but uh, and I started off in the film industry after USC film school. I went to New York for a year, and I did a little show called The Get Down, which is on Netflix. And after that, I came back to LA, started over. We could talk a little bit more about work families, but yeah, so that's where I started off my as a PA. Then I moved my way up to production secretary, assistant production coordinator, and then ever since the writer strike, I needed I needed to evolve essentially and find different ways of income. And I always told myself that I was going to be teaching after at least doing 10 plus years of experience in production. And so that's what kind of moved me or pushed me into doing or teaching screenwriting. So yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Antoinette, if you also don't mind sharing your name, pronouns, company, and current role.
Sure. Hi, I'm Antoinette Riccio. My pronouns are she, her. I currently work at Quiet Coyote Productions, which is a small production company founded by Molly Smith Metzler. We have an overall at Netflix, and we're currently in post-production on our new limited series called Siren. And that's where I am right now.
Thank you. Mr. Burkham or Bartholomew, however you like to be called, if you could go next, please.
You can call me Bart. Bart's fine. Bart Burcham. I use he, him pronouns. Currently a freelance editor. I've just finished up a Section 31 Star Trek movie that is currently on Paramount Plus. I'm editing Star Trek Starfleet Academy right now, and I'm a professor in the production division of the Cinematic Arts School, teaching editing and having a great time.
Thank you. Brittany, if you don't mind going next.
Hi, yeah, my name is Brittany Graham, and I am the director of development for a content agency called Treeline Bamboo. So we do everything from feature docs to some commercials and ads and everything in between.
Thank you. And Kari?
Sure. Hi, I'm Carrie McFarland. I'm a reality TV executive producer, and I was vice president of production and development at VH1 for 10 years. Some shows that came out of there were our team developed Jersey Shore, Mob Wives, Black Ink Crew. Then I was at AMC Networks for 10 years running production as vice president over there too. Braxton Family Values, Growing Up Hip Hop. So I've been in reality for probably before many of you were born, which is true, going on 29 years. But I'm really glad to be here tonight, and I'm glad that you all made the time to be here too.
Thank you. And we're glad that all of you panelists are here, and Jersey Shore is a personal favorite of mine. To get started with the questions, I would like to ask the panelists if you could tell us a little bit about your experience in the entertainment industry, why you chose entertainment and TV, and how you ended up there. We'll go backwards. Carrie, if you don't mind starting.
Sure. Listen, I feel like this is a career that kind of calls us. The truth is there's probably a lot of many easier ways to make money and to make a living. And And this can be a very challenging business, but I feel like it's one of those that, at least for me, I always knew I wanted to be. Actually, when I came to USC, I wanted to edit film, which is really funny. And about 3 weeks in, I started noticing that TV was really my true passion. And I kind of noticed that I was defending television a lot in some of my classes. And so I started working right away when I landed. I did an internship with a movie. I did an internship in scripted, and then I started doing internships right away in unscripted. And it was really the unscripted that pulled me. What I loved about it was how completely, unexpected every day was. We would come up with these crazy ideas, and then it's you go make it happen. And so I started as a receptionist, an intern, production associate, production coordinator. And then I worked my way up to showrunner. By the time I was like 26, I was freelance production in LA for about 10 years. And then I transferred over to the network side and worked my way up there. So, I remember back in the day, I could never imagine, like, how would I ever be an executive producer? Like, that could never happen for me. And the truth is, every step along the way, and even those first few years where I was building and it felt like, oh my God, am I ever going to get a producer job? Those years were really probably the most important, because what made me a great executive producer when I got there was the fact that I started in production management. I did script supervising, I did rights and clearance, did all of these things that weren't really necessarily exactly what I wanted to do in the long term, but they gave me all of those foundations that I needed. And that's really, I think, what helped me in the long run. So I feel like the best advice I can give is whatever's calling you, whatever direction you feel pulled to, go in that direction. I knew coming in college, I wanted to be on set. That's all that I knew. So I found myself positions where I could be on set, and then you take one step at a time. So I feel like find yourself in the vicinity and then go in that direction.
Thank you so much. That's really great advice. Brittany, if you don't mind going next, tell us about why you chose TV and how you ended up here.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I started in Annenberg in broadcast journalism. And so I was all about, like, okay, I'm going to be a news reporter. Yay. Right. But then I took this one class in my junior year, and it was a documentary class. And so you didn't have to produce it, but you had to do every single thing to set this thing up. So you're basically doing a treatment. And from that point, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to do nonfiction, TV, hands down. That's it. So I had this very promising internship at the time that turned into a job where they're saying, okay, well, it's an entertainment law firm. And they said, okay, well, we're going to fund your law degree if you stay here. And I was like, okay, sweet, whatever, but I was like, no, I don't want to do that, so the documentary professor I had in my junior year said, okay, well, this is a really good treatment. So I'm going to set up an independent study class for you in your senior year. So just shoot it, produce it, edit it, write it, whatever. And it ended up winning a student Emmy. And I was like, okay, great. So I quit my job when everyone else was like looking for their jobs too. I quit my SureBank thing, and I just decided to pursue a freelance career in nonfiction programming for TV. And so at that point, I started from the bottom. I did the whole PA thing, quickly rose to a production coordinator, then associate producer, supervising producer. And I was a showrunner on a lot of different HGTV shows, History Channel, Nat Geo, Travel Channel, all the cool nerd shows, right? Where you're learning a lot and it's super adventuresome and you're off the grid and you have tons of stories and it's wild and it's super entertaining. And, it just kind of built up like that. And I did that for 23 years before saying, okay, the pandemic hit and it kind of capsized all of us who were working steadily. And at that point, everyone has to pivot, right? So then I moved from LA, and I was a lifelong person in San Diego and LA my whole entire life, and then moved over to Franklin, Tennessee to accept a job as a director of development to oversee all that kind of stuff. So now, instead of just doing television, we're doing the features. We're doing, some different content things online too. So it's kind of diversifying because it's kind of nuts in production right now. So for me, that was a good way to say like, okay, set stuff is so freaking cool. Loved it, but I kind of want to own a house now. And I kind of want to settle down a little bit and stop, living out of my suitcase or in the jungle. So that's kind of, that career trajectory.
Yeah, that's super great. I love all of those nerdy shows. They're so interesting to me.
So fun.
Yeah. Bart, if you don't mind telling us how you ended up where you currently are and what your trajectory was like.
Yeah, I think it started in high school. I was working at a Blockbuster Video, and I was working there to basically not have to pay for video rentals because I was already obsessed, interested in films, interested in television, and that just kind of kept perpetuating itself. I went to University of Kansas for 2 years to get my grades up to transfer to USC. because I wanted a better education. I knew that if I was going to stay at University of Kansas, I was probably going to be doing critic kind of work, film criticism or something to that effect. Wanted to go to a city where I felt like I was going to be around more people that were interested in what I was interested in. So transferred out here, did not make it into the production program, and went into critical studies, which is now CAMS, I believe it's called, but was working for the USC football team in sports athletics, which turned into cinematography jobs with Fox Sports West and a bunch of places downtown. And I was kind of gravitating towards the technical because I could actually make money doing those jobs. So I stuck with that, decided I wanted to get a master's degree. Both of my parents are teachers and had always kind of pushed quality education, and ended up going to American Film Institute for a master's degree specifically in editing, and just had so much fun. And it was eye-opening to me what you could do in the post world. And I had a glimmer, kind of an idea going into the school that that's what I wanted to do, and came out really solidifying that that's what I wanted to do with my life and my career. And a lot of work coming out of school. A lot of the people that I went to school with were the ones that got me my first jobs, and just built upon each individual job until now I'm doing a TV and movies and having a good time, and also a professor. So the master's degree did not help until I became a professor. I will say that, but I'm glad that I did it, and it's paying off now. So having a good time. I'm going to be
Thank
saying
you.
that a lot.
Duly,
Yeah.
duly noted. Antoinette, if you don't mind telling us the story of where you are now.
Yes, it's so cool to hear where you three have come from, because I feel like I am stealing parts of your stories too. But I graduated in 2020 into the pandemic. So it was a terrible time. I came to USC as an acting major, and then quickly realized that I didn't really want to just act, and that it wasn't fulfilling to me. But I was a first generation college student, and I just had no idea that you could go to film school. So when I got there, I really wanted to write. So I declared a minor in screenwriting, applied for that, and then started taking those courses my sophomore year. And so I kind of graduated wanting to pursue writing, but it was a very scary time because all of my friends who had graduated, maybe a year or two ahead of me, who had great jobs, were losing them or were putting them on pause, were moving home. Very disheartening time. But I ended up taking a job as a nanny. This will track eventually. I ended up taking a job as a nanny for two writers, and one of them was in Canada shooting a show called Made, that later came out in 2021 with Margaret Qualley on Netflix. And then after the nannying job was over, I had a friend also doing a master's at AFI, and he asked a bunch of us to go help out on set one day, for free, because he needed people. So I said yes to that. And on that day on set, I got my next job because I ran into one of my friends, and she was like, I'm on a pilot for this show called Minx, and we need another PA. So I ended up PAing on Minx. Then after the Minx pilot, I got referred by someone I met on the Minx pilot to PA on a reality show called Floribama Shore, which is where we overlap now, Carrie. So then I was working on shows for 495 Productions, ended up taking a full-time job there as an assistant. And I worked in reality TV for about a year and a half, became an associate producer, and then on the reboot of Jersey Shore. And then I was like, this is great. And I, can see a trajectory here, but ultimately it was not what I wanted to do long term. So I started kind of looking around for ways to pivot before I went, too high up that ladder. And actually, my very first boss, who I nannied for, at the same time was starting development on a show with Netflix, and she needed a showrunner's assistant. So I made a leap back to scripted, and I started working with her the end of 2022. And then we went into a writer's room for the show for Sirens. And then the writer strike, of course, happened, had to pause that. When we resumed, we were greenlit, which was extremely uncommon in that time because then we were post strike. So then even less people were working. But we were lucky enough to start, finish writing, start casting, and we went into pre production at the end of 2023. And last year we shot Sirens in New York, and now we're in post on it. And so that's kind of where I've landed now, and I work for that production company. So we'll be in development on a new show soon enough.
Congratulations on that. That sounds very exciting. And now, lastly, Alan, if you don't mind telling us how you got to where you are now.
Of course. Yeah, so that's all great, by the way. So I'm still kind of new to a lot of things. I'm still starting up. And so now that I am teaching, it's really just a way for me to gain a little bit more experience in teaching, so that I can have, some sort of bread and butter for now. But long terms, and this will tie into how I got here, but but I am in talks with, after shadowing this one director, for the 2 shows that I PA'd on with him. I eventually got in touch with him, and then I shadowed for him for 2 shows after that. And so now we're in talks of like having some sort of like apprenticeship opportunity with him. So eventually, I don't know if many of you know about these situations, these apprenticeship like workshops or things with your mentor. But my last friend who did this was he did his job or as an assistant to John Singleton, and so with that apprenticeship sort of way, it led him to pitch shows with him. And so if and when there was like a bonus or something that John Singleton got, he got like a cut of it, if that makes sense. So just so that he can also like say like my assistant also helped me with the pitch and everything, and so here's your cut in a way, and that's something that they deal with afterwards, but which is really cool. That's something that I'm thinking I am in hopes of doing with a friend of mine. He is his name is Kevin Bray, and that's something that if you look him up, he's the one who kickstarted Suits, and now it's become and the show that I worked on with him was the Suits spinoff show, Pearson, and that's where I met him. As a PA, I was just so proactive, and I was just talking to him any opportunities I can, not networking, just building a relationship, talking about sports, talking about movies, talking about Succession. There was a time where he asked me, "What do you think about Succession?" I was like, "Dude, I think it's one of the best shows right now. I think you should if you hop on it, that'd be awesome." And he ended up doing the episode 9 or something of Succession, and I was like, "That's so cool." And then there's a whole full circle thing about it. But to go back all the way back, I went to UCSB for my undergrad, and it was actually a Chicano studies class that I started doing. It was a film editing Chicano studies class, and I was like, "What? You could cut all these things together and tell a story? That's awesome!" And so that kind of gave me the I guess the to kickstart my film career, and that's why I said I applied to USC. I didn't get accepted, and but I applied again, And then eventually I got in, and thankfully that's what helped me. But to quickly share all my work influence or sphere of influence together, it was my professor, my first professor at USC, who connected me with a friend of his at New York when I started in New York, because it was literally 3 years at USC. I went to New York, um, uh, and as soon as I interviewed with that friend of his, um, it was at a 12-story building, and it was at the very top floor of that New York City building. And as soon as I was done with that interview, he said there's no room for you here in the John Wick project. He was working on the John Wick 2 movie, but I'm gonna let all my production coordinator friends know around here in New York, and I'll let them know about you. Literally, it takes what, like 5 minutes to get to the elevator, ring it down, and and then come out of the building, like 5 or 6 minutes. Sure enough, there was at least like 3 emails tied to uh, production coordinators that immediately he vouched for me. So what I'm getting at with this is, like, it's so interesting how the people's word of mouth like really like travels. It travels far, you know. And I mean, I can show you, some of my old resumes. It was literally like a list of shows that I did. Even right now, I'm currently trying to work on my resumes to get them better. But word of mouth, it reaches a lot, and sometimes you're showing that using USC as a leverage, that it's huge. And that's what got me the Get Down movie or show that I worked on, because somebody was passing by. Oh, are you interviewing? Look at that guy. That guy's from USC. Interview him. And then, like, it gave me like a leg up, you know. And so I know everything's kind of happened, and I'm probably one of the worst guys to talk to when it comes. Like, I know it's a lot of luck, but it really isn't. I mean, I did work my butt off, you know, and so but I was trying to be as genuine as possible with people, trying to build relationships instead of showing that I just wanted to network with people. And I don't know, maybe that's what they saw in me, and that's something that I think I've stuck with, and it's been helpful ever since. So I don't know, I'm kind of tying into different questions now, but yeah.
No, I mean that's pretty perfect, because it kind of leads me to my next question that I want to ask y'all, is which just quite simply, like, what advice would you offer to students interested in the career in your industry? I'm getting like a little bit of networking, I'm getting a little bit of like, go out and meet different people. So I mean, whoever has, first dibs on whoever wants to answer this question
I mean,
first, by all means.
yeah, so I mean, since I'm here now, yeah, I mean, my biggest advice is be proactive, seek out opportunities, whether through like through internships, obviously, volunteer work, or even student films. Build some sort of set of like diverse skills. I think that helps a lot. And yeah, and but don't be afraid to. I feel like don't be afraid to reach out to professionals. I remember I did a short film recently. I needed help to seek a young Latinos under the age of 18. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this during the pandemic. Like, there's no way. And I cold called Carla Hool, who's a really well known casting director. She actually just won a bunch of awards right now for Emilia Perez, and so she helped me out. She was a casting director for Coco, Pixar's movie Coco, and what's that one, Narcos show. And so I just cold called her. I said, I'm trying to work on this project. This is what it's about. Can you help me? And she did it for free, you know. I had to just pay her assistant, but that was it, you know. Anyways, but yeah, I think being proactive as much as you can, and if I was still a student, for those who are still students, if I was a student now, I would try to talk to my professors as much as I can. and go to their office hours, not to just talk about your assignments or your projects, but get to know them a lot, because you'd be surprised that they can like connect you with future jobs, which is what happened to me. So that's it. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Antoinette, I see
couldn't
you.
agree. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I'm just saying that I see you have your camera and
Oh,
your
yeah,
microphone.
I just couldn't agree. I couldn't agree with Alan more. I think like the best resource at USC is the people, not just the professors, but when you sit in class every day and you look around, like any of those people in that room could be the person that gets you a job in the real world. And I feel like this is like a scary thing to say, but I actually think it's a great thing. Like I've never like applied for a job. I've only gotten jobs through referrals or word of mouth since I've graduated, because that's what having like all of your friends go into the same field, does for you, is that you constantly can check in with each other and commiserate with each other when, you don't know what's going on. But I think the people next to you in your classrooms are the best resource for you, and the people that you really make relationships with, friendships with, keep up with each other, lean on each other. And I think don't be afraid to say what you want to do. I think sometimes there can be like a weird shame around being like, I want to do this and I want this opportunity. But the moment you say it to people, they will like always have their ear open for it. You just say like, I'm really looking for a writer's PA job, and someone will know someone who is the writer's assistant who doesn't want to get lunch anymore on this show, and they're gonna be able to refer you. And a lot of times when you're starting out in those entry level jobs, like your resume doesn't matter, because the people who are hiring you know that you're recently graduated or you're not going to have a lot of credits, and someone vouching for you is what's going to just give them the okay to be like, we'll just hire them. Like I don't really need to like interview the PA who's going to get everyone lunch. And like you just have to go in, have a good attitude, be responsible, and that's kind of it. So I think just always say what you want to do, always be proud of where you are and what you want to do and what you're struggling with, and just lean on the people around you and really make friends with everyone you're in class with, and really be invested in their success too.
Yeah, that sounds like really great advice, especially, just the word of mouth thing. It really is true in this industry. Kari, Brittany, Bart, if y'all have anything to say.
Listen, first of all, couldn't agree with both of you more. I would also say you have to do what nobody else is doing, because your mind is going to say everybody's doing that. I was at VH1 for 10 years running some of the top shows on the network. You want to know how many times people wrote to me and said, hey, Kari, I love Jersey Shore, I love Mob Wives, or I love, the shows that you're doing. How do I get a start on that? Never. You know how many people wrote to my bosses, to the other people in development, to the people in production, to the heads of the production companies we worked with? Rarely, never, because you think everybody's doing it. And it feels really weird to do that. And that's kind of how I started getting my internships. I mean, I was looking for work when we didn't have email, okay? And we didn't have cell phones, which is really weird, right, to say now. But I used to have to like drive to Kinko's. I thought this was the dumbest thing that I was doing. I would go and, I had very little money. I would go get the Hollywood Reporter on whatever day it was of everything that was in production. And I would drive to Kinko's and I would fax my resume out, right, to all of these places. And would anybody call me? No. And I am very much an introverted person by nature, right? This industry has pulled something out of me that I didn't really know was in there. But back when I was in college and I was coming out of school, it was very uncomfortable for me to have to pick up the phone and call. But you don't need everybody to say yes. You need one person to say yes. And think about it. You guys watch so much content. You know what kind of content is drawing you. You know what kind of stuff you like. You'll know, like what if you want to be a music supervisor? What kind of music is speaking to you on, the movies or the television shows that you're watching? Watch the credits. Find these people. When I'm working on a show, we're in it for like 9 months, 12 months on multiple projects. I'm dreaming about my characters. If you wrote to me and said, oh my God, the music in this scene, I love it. I'd love to talk to you. Don't just write, not, just coldly. Write with some kind of smart, real, authentic connection that you have to the person, to the work of why you'd want to go into this. And you know what? There's a lot of people who may not answer you. That's fine. But there's a lot of people who will. And again, you only need one, and generally, I feel like in my experience, it's the ones that say yes are the ones that are meant for you. Let the doors close that are the doors that are supposed to be closed. I don't love the phrase cast a wide net in general. I feel like get specific in the direction you want to go and then cast a wide net. So if you're like, hey, listen, I really want to be an editor, right? I want to either like a post, PA job, or I think I'm ready to assistant editor. Who's working on the kind of content that you love, that you'd love to do? Go research them, find them, write to them, send a resume. A lot of entry-level jobs are never going to be listed. Who do I have here on my desk? I need somebody tomorrow as a PA. I'm looking for somebody that I need. This resume happened to come in. Oh, that kid who wrote to me, right? That's how they're going to remember you. So do what nobody else is doing.
That's greatly said. Brittany, go ahead. I know that you've been wanting to chime in.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say in undergrad, and I was listening to all the other panelists, and it's great that you guys had different peers who were going through the same phases in life. I wasn't, because it's like, okay, everyone was going to be anchors. They still sent out all of their reels and everything to be on camera. And then I took this hard left and was like, okay, I'm all about television production now. And now what, And so I heavily relied on the USC job boards. I thought that they were absolutely fantastic because you can line up all these really cool internships that are specifically for USC students. And I worked so hard to just stack all these experiences in television production so that I was primed and ready by the time I graduated. So I already knew the equipment that they were shooting on. I already knew how to edit. I already knew how to do all these things. And no other school was doing that, So like you're leagues ahead in terms of skill. And then you're also stacking your credits. And when you start out, stacking your credits is the most important thing you can possibly do. And if you can't get an internship, or if you don't have time for that or whatever, at least you can tap into the cinema school and say, hey, can I PA on your shoot or something? Or, can I get some experience that way? Because that's all about credits, in television. Like that's the most important thing. And the sooner you start that process, the more indispensable you're going to make yourself too. And, also when you do work on set, it speaks volumes because you know how to problem solve, you know how to anticipate, you know how to think fast, you know how to do everything. And so whenever I would hire people, like, let's just say you start as, a personal assistant or something in an office, it's totally different than physical production. So I'm interested in the person and hiring people who are in physical production because I know they're sharp, they're smart, they anticipate, they're hard workers, and they'll do anything and they'll never say no, and they know how to problem solve. And so, it's like carrying that same mindset into, back when I was just graduating, trying to get my feet wet and everything. That was the most invaluable experience because you just start stacking credits. And at that point, it's not about networking. I always look at that as kind of like a dirty word because it's like, it always makes me feel like, you're doing that because you want something from people. But if you have these really cool, and somebody else said this, like I think Ellen did, like the genuine connections, like you work a set and you're freaking loving it, and you like the people around you too, and you're like, I want to do more stuff with you guys. It's gonna naturally happen instead of like, okay, I'm gonna make my list, I'm gonna check in with these people, and it's like that's just not fun. And it's almost like you're reacting out of fear for your next job instead of really enjoying a really fun industry and all of that it could offer.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more with hearing the word networking. It sends chills down my spine. But I mean,
A little
truly,
gross.
like
A little gross.
vibing with the people, I totally love that. Bar, I don't know if you had anything to add to this. Totally fine if not.
Not a whole lot, but I think networking can come in many forms. It can be if you respect somebody's work, you see a short film that they did, and you want to just take them out for a coffee and ask them some questions. I think that that's elevating your relationships, and that's a great way to meet people and engage with people. And it doesn't have to be 2 hour long conversation. It can be 10 minutes over coffee. Some of those simple moments of just engaging people, asking questions. Yeah, you don't want to you're building relationships to get work. No, build trust with people, build quality relationships so that in the future, your life is richer and there's a potential there for more friends, right?
Yeah,
That should
totally
be the
agree with
goal.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Last question before we open it up to students, but I do want to know in your eyes, what do you think are the challenges slash benefits of working within the entertainment industry, or like especially with TV? I know, like, for example, some of my past professors said that TV is better because it's quicker than film and stuff like that. So what is it that you find is really challenging, and what is it that you find is really rewarding? For anyone that has an answer.
Okay,
I'll just
time
start with-
open here.
oh, sorry,
Or
go
you
ahead.
want to go for it? I was like, no one's answering.
Look, I said this earlier, I think that, again, I really do feel like when you come into this field, it's something that's really calling you. It's something that there's nothing else I want to do but do this and make content, right? One of the things, I mean, I can only really speak to my experience in unscripted television. Like I said, I had, started off just checking off the boxes of trying scripted and trying film, and it just didn't call me. What I love about unscripted is the amazing experiences that you get and the lives that you go into that you would never be a part of. I mean, I've lived at Caesar's Palace for 6 months. I've shot in prisons. I've shot with porn stars. I've worked with every kind of hip hop artist that you could ever imagine. I've worked with the mob, I mean, it takes you into these crazy different worlds. And the thing is, you go in with an idea of what the story is, and that's never the story. The story's below the story. And your job is to find out, hey, we have this idea of what we're going in, but when you're actually investing yourself in other people's lives, it's really an amazing experience. It's it's a very challenging career. It's going to take a lot out of you. There are times that, I mean, I've, for many, many years, worked 20-hour days every day. I used to call my mother and be like, hey, I'll talk to you in 9 months because we're going on set, and you kind of go underground. And I loved that until I didn't. And I loved it until I was like mid-20s. And then I was like, okay, what's going to be next for me? But you can change and you can evolve and you can find a different place in the industry. I always say, like, this industry pulled something out of me. You come up with a crazy idea, it's like, okay, make it happen. How are we going to make it happen? You're going to pick up the phone, you're going to start making it, you're going to be a listener, you're going to problem solve. Every day is crazy. You have people who are, yelling at you. And it's great because it teaches you so many different skills and it takes you into the lives of so many different people. So I think that there's no other career like that. It's beautiful if this is something that calls you and you feel like that's what I want to do. I want to be immersed in this, development and creative, productive world. You have to go for it, and you have to go for it now, because if it's calling you, it's in you. And I don't think you'll ever want to look back in this beautiful life that you have and say, why didn't I? This is your chance to go out and go after all your dreams. And guess what? When you start, if this isn't what you love, there might be other jobs in that field that you're like, I didn't even know about this and I want to do this. Or you shift and you navigate. Just get started, go in the direction that's calling you. But it is a challenging career, right? But I'll say this, everybody's talking right now about what kind of a challenging time it is. I've navigated the industry for 30 years. There's never been a time that I've been in a network that there haven't been layoffs, that there haven't been, construction. And there have always been times that even through that time, projects are getting picked up, people are getting hired, people are working. So no matter what you hear, and is it a difficult time? It is a difficult time. But I can say through 3 decades, while it's never been talked about as much as being so difficult and maybe contracting as much as it is in the moment, but there have always been times that I've been there where people have been reorganizing, laying people off, and there's still opportunity. You have to get creative. You have to be bold. You have to put yourself out there. You have to put your ideas out there. And if you're willing to do that and go for it, then this is a career for you.
I don't even respond to that. That's greatly said. Brittany, I know that you had something that you wanted to say.
Yeah. So you have challenges and benefits of working in production, right? So whether it's, pre-production, production on set, or in post, they're all intrinsically laced with really interesting challenges with timelines, deadlines, writing, voices, directing, difficult talent, technical issues, also logistical things too, and it's so fast paced. It's so much more fast paced in film, for example, so it's like you're always on the go or whatever. So those are like the intrinsic challenges. But for me, the most beneficial part was also the biggest challenge, meaning that it's freelance. and you don't know where your next job is coming from. And so on one hand, I love the fact that if you're feeling burnt out after an 8-month stint or whatever, and you haven't had a day off in that long time, and you're feeling all like cracked out and weird, like I would send myself to the Caribbean for a week because I couldn't exist in the normal world because I was wired too much, But the thing is, like, when you're freelance, you can do that. And that was gorgeous, to be able to do that. And then now that I'm on the corporate side, it's like I find myself, yeah, it's a steady paycheck or whatever, and it's, more sure footing. But at the same time, I'm exhausted more than I was on set all the time because you can choose your own adventure, literally. And you can also choose the amount of time that you want to take down. If you want to have a really nice long vacation, you can do that. But with that also comes the worry of, okay, when's my next job going to come through, And so that's why it's super smart, at least in my experience too. Like before I was a showrunner, sometimes I would write, sometimes I'd be hired as a director, sometimes I'd be hired as a producer. So I could bounce back in between pre-production, production, post, whenever I wanted to, if I needed a break, So it's like, if I wanted to stay local, I'll take a writing job or whatever. And so it was always beneficial to do that, and also you're more marketable too. But it's really like, can you handle being freelance, And I think that is what I hear the most complaints about, especially in this time right now with a lot of my friends who are still in television production, is that, these droughts are a little bit more and more and more prevalent, more so than they had been in the past. And so, it's just all about what do you want to do? Like, do you want the sure footing, or can you handle, a more volatile career?
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing about being freelance, it definitely sounds like it's a double-edged sword, and kind of choose your battles sort of thing.
Totally, yeah.
Antoinette,
And save money when you can.
yeah. Antoinette, Allen, I don't know if any of you have anything to say about the career being, rewarding or anything like that.
Go ahead.
Ellen, do you want to go? Oh,
No,
okay.
you go ahead.
He disappeared. I would say, yeah, I think the challenging part is the uncertainty. And I also think that comparison is like your worst enemy, I think, in an industry like this, because inevitably, like, you'll graduate and, your friends might start getting like jobs you want and all this stuff. Like, there'll be times where like you have the job everyone wants, and then there'll be times where other people have the job that everyone wants. And, you have to really be confident and accept that you're on your own path, and that, your trajectory is going to look different than everyone around you, and so is theirs. And so really just being confident in who you are, what you want to do, what your next steps are, or just being confident in that you don't know, or that you're figuring it out, and being okay with that. I think mindset is can be your best friend or worst enemy. And so I think when you have a good perspective about just knowing that you're on a journey, that there's like no final destination, that you kind of have to roll with the punches, be malleable, be a hustler, like, if all of that is something you can roll with, like, I do think you will be okay in the end. And especially if you can surround yourself with like-minded people, if you can surround yourself with people who will be a sounding board, who you can complain to, who you can go to for advice, that will be really important. But it's really rewarding when you really get in your footing and find a job you really love. And on this show particularly, like, it's the first time I've seen a show from like development to writer's room to pre-production to production to post-production now, and like seeing a show from beginning to end, being on set, seeing like actors at like the top of their career, or like my new favorite thing is like being on set and seeing actors that no one really knows, and knowing that like when the show comes out, their life is going to change. Like, I am just like, I like feel so proud of like these people who I've, ended up working with, and just like watching their career trajectories. And it's very rewarding when you get there. I think it's just like the belief and the faith that like you're gonna find your way.
Yeah, thank you. Alan, you could go ahead. I just want to note that after this, we will open it up to student questions, but go ahead with your response.
Yeah, I'll just quickly say, for me, it was what was challenging was it was very much like feast or famine. You either feast or you there's famine, and it depends on the person. For me, I guess I could say I feasted for a while. I mean, there was a time where I worked on Ryan Murphy shows, and it was great. It was just work after work, and you're literally like jumping from the next show to the next show to the next show, and then working with great unit production managers and producers that get you to the next job. And I did that for a while, for a good chunk, and that's something that I was really grateful for. Um, but I would say definitely there's long hours. I was just starting up my family near the end or right before the pandemic. I have two sons now, and it is challenging, having that balance. But like most of y'all had mentioned, it really does take a person that is willing to go into this industry, knowing the things that takes part of it. So but the flip side is always, it's always immense. There's knowing that you're working with a collaborative, a group of people to make a project and get it out there is always great, and the relationships you build, that's always great. And if and when y'all have any more questions about my story, yeah, just feel free. But I'll end it with that.
Yeah, for sure. There's never a dull moment. I do want to open it up for any questions from the audience. Of course, please use the raise hand function if you can, or you could drop it in the chat. Aditya, I see your hand up. Go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Hi, my name is Aditya. I'm a freshman in cinema and media studies, and so this is more of like a long-term question because I don't have any expectations, it's only just being a freshman starting out. But I've written a TV show and was wondering like if you guys had any advice on getting in the industry, like getting my show into like a production house or to a streaming service company to like land some sort of deal and actually get it produced because my dream for years now is to like direct episodes as well as to like be the formal showrunner, but I just like have like no idea where I would even get started.
That's out of my purview. I'm gonna hand it over.
I feel like I can definitely speak to this. I think first of all, congratulations. I think on like having a draft that you're really proud of. I think like as a writer, that is the first step. It's like the best first draft is one that's completed. That's, what my teachers would always tell me. It's a lot easier to edit than to write, all this stuff. But I think what I would say to you is like you have unlimited resources where you are right now, which is actually like an amazing position to be in because you don't necessarily have that after you graduate. So I think when you get into writing classes, screenwriting classes, build relationships with your professors, and they will want to read your work. They will want to, help guide you, give you notes, give you feedback. Something I used to do at USC with my scripts that I was in the middle of writing is, the theater school is right there. You go over, you ask people to do a reading for you, and you can get everyone together, get some snacks, and hear the script out loud. And you can start doing that as part of like your editing process to do like second and third drafts. I think having teachers give you notes is really helpful. And then I think like I would start by trying to apply to writing programs. So like the Television Academy has a really good writing internship for comedy. I believe it might have updated since I last, applied or whatever, but there's a comedy and a drama. So whatever, your script fits, and you'll be able to like submit that script. And then if you get that internship, which I would start applying like as soon as you can, because maybe you won't get it the first year, but you'll get it the second year. And if it's still the same, you basically get to like go be in a writer's room and kind of like shadow people, make connections. And I think having the script is like the first step. And then I think like now just work on like building out the people who can help you get it to the best place, help you talk about pitching, about treatments. And then once you have kind of like a built out network of people, then, you know, it'll be easier to get it to the right person. And good luck. That's really exciting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aditya. We'll go Khalil, then Andrew, and then Nathan if we have time. Go ahead, Khalil.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm Khalil, I'm a senior. And my question is kind of two-parter, but I think that it makes sense how it's kind of a two-parter. So my question is, I hear a lot of the time that people who want to get into entertainment shouldn't focus on like the big name studios and like productions. I want to know, number one, is that something that you all would agree with? And if so, how exactly do we locate the smaller studios that aren't making headlines?
Yeah, for me personally, I totally agree with that because I remember when I started out, I was doing, you know, the internship boards that USC had, you know, and so the production companies were things that I never really heard about before, but at least it got your foot in the door. And it's all about experience at that point, you know, and that's how I was able to find the smaller boutique companies. Because you knew that they were looking, you know, and that's a difference between just doing a cold call and really know that people are looking to fill a need. And so you're going to get hired even as an intern a lot faster if they're looking to satisfy something. So that's how I got all of my leads, really, is just that job board. And I don't know if you guys still have it, you know, but it was so instrumental to me personally.
Please watch out for Handshake because a lot of job postings are there. And Bart, you could go ahead.
Yeah, I think one of the great things nowadays is we have platforms like IMDb Pro and LinkedIn. See who you are connected to. If you're already on one of those platforms, if there's somebody that you're trying to reach out to, even if they're at a big studio, who do you know that may know them, right? So check out those platforms if you're already on it. It might be a great way to find that connection. I don't think I would necessarily look at just small or big or be fearful of even approaching people at big studios, but you're probably going to start at the bottom of the ladder, know that, and you work your way up, right? But we now have a Rolodex, a digital Rolodex that allows us to connect with people quicker and easier.
Thank you. We'll go Andrew
Thank
and
you.
Nathan. I'm so sorry, but I'm not sure we'll be able to get to you. But go ahead, Andrew.
First of all, I want to thank you all for being here. I really, really appreciate it. My name's Andrew. I'm a sophomore Business of Cinematic Arts student. And we talked a lot about, you know, making these connections, networking, and building these friendships. But I was wondering, do you all have any strategies for maintaining these connections once you've already made them, you know, as years go by in the industry and as you progress throughout your career? Do you have any strategies for maintaining these connections and ensuring that they never get lost?
Well, I'll just jump in there. Listen, some will get lost, right? Because there's so many people, especially, I started in freelance production for 10 years. And I'll tell you, some of those very first shows and some of the people that you're working with, that you're grinding with, I mean, you may not talk to them for 10 years and then you'll write to them and they're like, oh, it's like time doesn't pass. When you make bonds on set, right? And you have those authentic bonds, it's almost like real, like friendships that you've had from years ago. You may not talk to those people because, you're now in a different school, you're pursuing something else, but like, hey, that's my buddy, right? Like you have this like production pain love that you have with them, okay? That doesn't go away. And even like my group from VH1, like we haven't worked together in a number of years. I can call any of those guys anytime because we were just in it together. And so you build this bond. I don't think you have to work too hard at the real relationships that you form because you work hard together. You are in it in a way that other professions do not work together this hard. I mean, again, a lot of times you're giving up your life, you're going on set, you're in set, you're working these crazy hours, you have crazy experiences that you can't even explain to other people, right? So a lot of times I think you'd be just surprised that you don't have to work too hard for them. It actually happens really naturally. And then so let's be honest, some relationships are going to be happy that do fall apart because there are some crazy people in this business too, you know? Try to keep everything cool, right? Go with the people who are really your vibe, keep everything good with everybody. It's a small world, it's a small business, but just navigate your way and just know that the people who are in your lane, who are there for you, you're going to know it, and you're not going to have to work too hard to keep those fresh. You should always be able to like just hit them up because they'll have that respect for you because of what you guys did together.
Perfect. Thank you. And Nathan, we do have just a little bit of time, so go ahead and ask your question really quickly if you still have it.
Oh, okay. I guess those guys are on like production side, but like I'm a martial artist actor, and I'm putting together like a short film stuff. But I was just asking like a question about like casting stuff. Do I just need to get like an agent and like get into SAG or something for stuff like that? Sorry, did my mic not?
No,
No, it's
we
good.
can hear you.
I feel, are you in SDA?
SDA? No, I'm a
But-
business.
Oh, business. Well, I feel, what year are you? Sorry, I have questions now.
I'm junior in credits.
Okay, so I feel like my best advice would be to use what USC has first, because it's all free and at your disposal. So if you are able and you have some credits, you can always declare a minor in the School of Dramatic Arts. And our career center is actually run by an active casting director. So he would be a great resource to you, and he does all sorts of one-on-ones. They do all kind of postings about certain roles, and whether it be on alumni films or anything in the SDA newsletter, they're always sending out casting calls that you can submit to without representation. Or if you need to submit to something with representation, this man who runs the Career Center, Dan, he will like be your representation to submit you. So I would say definitely in the time you have left, which is more than enough time, if it's a year and a half, you should definitely make a relationship with him. Maybe even enroll in a class or two. There's even like classes on the business of acting. So maybe that is like a common interest you have. But then once you have a reel, you can cold submit to management companies and agencies. I think it's maybe focus on smaller ones, right? Cold submissions are really hard, especially for actors. So I think just keep your ears open, get with your friends in the cinema school, make them cast you in things, and just build your connection.
Wait, what was that? What was that guy's name again? Dan something.
Dan Shaner.
Oh, Shannon. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Antoinette. I felt like you might have had an answer for that one. Brittany, did you have something quick to
I just thought it was hilarious. Make them cast you in things.
say?
Right? Hey, we're friends. Cast me.
They're busy. They have 12 hours of class a day. They don't have time for auditions. Just be like, hey, I'm your person, whatever role it is. And sometimes you'll save them time.
So true. As someone who has done a little bit of like student short films here on campus, they are looking for people. I will bring this to a close. I want to thank all our amazing panelists for sharing their industry insights with us. And thank you for all the students for attending as well. I hope that this gave everyone a better understanding of the TV entertainment industry. Again, Industry Insights is a series of panels, so we will also be having later ones, I think, in the upcoming months. You could find more details of our other panels and even other Career Center events on Handshake or at careers.usc.edu. But thank you all for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you all, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, panelists.